sleepy science. Seeds, the world continues on in ways that barely make a sound. In the quietest hours, when most things are still, seeds wait beneath the soil in their own kind of stillness. This is a gentle exploration of seeds, their lives, their patience, and the quiet science behind them. There is nothing to worry about here, nothing to rush through. Just the steady, calm truth of how seeds exist in the world and how they have learned to survive across centuries and continents. Consider without urgency that the oldest living thing on earth is a seed. Not a tree that grew from a seed, but a seed itself. Date palm seeds found in archaeological excavations in Jericho have been germinated successfully after lying dormant for nearly 2,000 years. The seed contained everything it needed to wait. Time meant nothing to it. Patience was not a choice, but simply the way seeds exist. This is not a story with tension. It is simply how things are. You might settle into a comfortable position now, if you haven't already. What follows is an unhurried look at seeds and the small, persistent ways they move through the world. There is science here, and there are facts, but they arrive without urgency. No surprises are waiting. No revelations will demand your attention. The information is gentle, and it accumulates slowly, the way seeds themselves accumulate in soil, generation after generation, creating a kind of abundance that needs no applause. Seeds have been solving problems for millions of years. They have had time to perfect their approaches. There is something deeply calming about witnessing something so settled, so certain in its method. This script is designed to match that quality. The pace is slow. The tone is even. The world of seeds is one of patience and small, invisible progress. Let that world be the one surrounding you now. Seeds begin their existence, wrapped in protection. A seed coat, sometimes called a testa, surrounds the developing plant inside. This coat is not thick or dramatic. It is simply there, doing its work. The seed coat can be thin as paper or hard as stone, depending on what the plant needs. Some seeds have coats so tough that they must be scratched by sand or tumbled by stones before water can reach the living tissue inside. Some coats are so thin and delicate that they barely seem to be there at all. The seed coat's job is straightforward. Hold the seed together and protect it from the world until conditions are right. It does this without complaint, without variation in effort. Year after year, the coat remains. Some seeds have been found in museum collections, preserved in perfect condition for more than a century, their coats still intact, still holding the life inside in suspension. Inside the seed coat lies the seed itself. The structure inside is elegantly simple. There is an embryo, which is the tiny plant waiting to grow. This embryo contains everything the future plant will need to begin. There are leaves folded impossibly small. There is a root waiting to emerge downward. There is a stem folded in on itself. All of this fits into a space so small it might rest on the tip of a finger. The embryo is not conscious and not dormant in the way an animal sleeps. It is simply suspended, held in a state of potential. It waits without waiting, if such a thing can be imagined. This waiting is not difficult for the seed. It is not restless. It is simply the seed's natural state. Around the embryo, there is often stored food. This endosperm, as it is called, is fuel for the emerging plant. It is typically made of starches and proteins and oils. The endosperm is a gift, in a way, from the parent plant. The parent plant has filled the seed with enough nutrition to allow the young plant to grow for days or weeks, or sometimes months, depending on the seed, until the plant can make its own food through photosynthesis. Some seeds are so well stocked with endosperm that they barely need anything else. Some seeds are small and spare, their endosperm minimal, their embryos designed to germinate quickly and take their chances with the world. Each approach works. Each approach has been tried by some plant somewhere, and the fact that the plant still exists means that its approach is sound. Seeds travel. This is one of the most interesting aspects of seeds, and one of the most passive. Seeds do not choose to travel. They have no intention, but they move across the world through wind and water and the digestive systems of animals. A seed that is eaten by a bird can travel hundreds of miles before being deposited in a new place, ready to grow. A seed with wings or a parachute catches the air and floats away from its parent plant, drifting on the wind until it lands somewhere far away. A seed with hooks or barbs catches on animal fur and travels clinging to a traveling creature. Some seeds are so lightweight that they are simply blown along the ground, tumbling through deserts or across open fields. Some seeds float on water, their coats sealed against moisture, drifting on rivers and ocean currents for months or even years, eventually washing ashore to begin growing in a new land. The distribution of seeds across the landscape is, in a sense, a gift to the world. A plant that could only exist where its parent plant existed would be limited and fragile. A plant that produces seeds that travel is stronger. Its offspring will grow in new places, in new conditions, exposed to new challenges. Some of these offspring will thrive. Some will not. The plants that produce seeds designed to travel widely are, in a sense, casting their future across the world and hopping that somewhere. Some of their children will find good soil and good light and begin to grow. There is something beautiful about this, in a quiet way. There is no desperation in it, because seeds do not feel desperation. There is only a steady, persistent strategy that has worked for millions of years. Seeds contain a kind of chemistry that is both simple and profound. Water is the trigger that begins germination in most seeds. When water enters the seed, it activates enzymes that have been dormant. These enzymes are proteins that act as catalysts, speeding up chemical reactions without being used up themselves. The enzymes begin to break down the stored starches and proteins into simpler compounds that the growing embryo can use. This activation happens gradually. It is not an explosion or a rush. It is a slow, steady increase in the seed's internal activity. The seed begins to respire, to use oxygen and release carbon dioxide. The seed begins to grow, very slowly at first, long before any visible change can be seen. The seed coat might crack days before the first root appears above the soil. Different seeds require different things to germinate. Some seeds need only water and warmth. Some seeds need darkness. Some seeds need light. Some seeds require a period of cold, mimicking the winter that would come in their natural environment. These seeds will not germinate in the autumn when they fall, even if water and warmth are present. They will wait through the winter, frozen and dormant. When spring comes and the soil warms, they will germinate. This timing is not conscious. The seed has no awareness of the seasons, but the seed has been shaped by evolution to respond to environmental cues that indicate good growing conditions. A seed that germinates in the autumn in a cold climate would likely die before winter. A seed that waits until spring has a much better chance. The seed does not know this. The seed simply responds to temperature and sometimes to light, responding in ways that have been shaped by millions of years of natural selection. Some seeds require smoke to germinate. This is particularly true of seeds in areas that experience regular wildfires. The smoke contains chemical compounds that tell the seed that a fire has passed and that the landscape has been cleared. The seed germinates into space that is newly open, with less competition from other plants. The fire has consumed the plants that were there before, and the seed is positioned to take advantage of the newly cleared ground. This is not a response that any individual seed has chosen. It is a response that was selected for because seeds that responded this way survived more often than seeds that did not. Over millions of years, this response became encoded into the seed itself, into its chemical structure, into the compounds it contains. The seed, in this way, is a record of its own history. A seed contains within it the story of where it has been successful, what conditions it needs, what dangers it faces. A seed from a cold climate is different from a seed from a warm climate. A seed from a dry region is different from a seed from a place with abundant water. The seed's coat is thicker or thinner. The seed size is larger or smaller. The seed's germination requirements are different. All of these differences are the result of millions of years of adaptation. The seed is, in a sense, a summary of the experience of its species. Germination begins in the root. In most seeds, the first visible sign of germination is the emergence of the root from the seed coat. This root is usually small and pale. It grows downward, responding to gravity. The root does not see gravity, does not measure gravity consciously, but the cells in the root respond to gravity through the movement of particles called statoliths within the cells. These statoliths are denser than the surrounding cellular material, and they settle downward. Their movement signals to the root which direction is down. The root grows toward them, and thus grows downward into the soil. This is not intelligence. This is chemistry. But it is a kind of chemistry that has resulted in roots that are nearly always oriented correctly, that grow downward into soil where water and nutrients are available. The root grows by adding cells to its tip. There is a region at the very tip of the root, called the root cap, that is made of cells that are constantly being worn away as the root pushes through soil. These cells are being sloughed off, replaced with new cells that come from a small region just above the root cap called the meristem. The meristem is a place where cells divide very rapidly. These new cells then differentiate, becoming part of the root structure, or eventually becoming part of the root cap again. The root is always growing, always dying in a controlled way, always replacing itself. Root advances through the soil at a rate that depends on the seed and the conditions, but it is often measured in millimeters per day. In time, this slow progress adds up. The root explores the soil, finding water and nutrients. Above the soil, the shoot emerges. The shoot is the stem and leaves of the developing plant. In some seeds, the shoot emerges before the root has even emerged. In others, the root establishes first. In many seeds, they emerge simultaneously. The shoot grows upward, responding to light. Like the root's response to gravity, the shoot's response to light is a chemical one. Cells on the shaded side of the shoot grow faster than cells on the sunny side. This differential growth causes the shoot to bend toward the light. Over time, this bending becomes a general upward growth, a reaching toward the sun. The shoot does not know where the sun is. The shoot does not search for the sun. The shoot simply grows in a way that has been selected because shoots that grew toward light survived more often than shoots that did not. The first leaves that emerge from a seedling are often different from the leaves that will emerge later. These first leaves, called cotyledons in some plants, are sometimes thick and simple. They exist primarily to provide energy, while the young plant is still using up the food reserves from the seed. As the plant grows, the leaves that follow become more elaborate, more specialized. They develop the shapes and structures characteristic of the mature plant. But all of these leaves begin as the same kind of growth from the meristem. All of them unfold from a point inside the shoot where cells are dividing and differentiating. The unfolding happens gradually. A leaf that will eventually be large and complex unfolds over days or weeks, always growing, always becoming more itself. The seedling's roots branch and rebranch as they grow. A single root produces smaller roots along its length, and those roots produce even smaller roots, creating a branching pattern that extends through the soil. This branching increases the surface area of the root system, allowing it to absorb more water and more nutrients. The branching also allows the root system to explore more of the soil around the plant. If one section of soil becomes dry, the root system can find water elsewhere. If nutrients are depleted in one area, the roots can find nutrients in another. The root system grows without any central direction. Each root tip grows independently, responding to moisture and to the presence of nutrients. The roots of a plant can sense chemicals in the soil that indicate the presence of water or nutrients, and they grow in those directions. This is not thinking. This is not planning. This is only the root responding to chemical signals in a way that increases the likelihood of the plant's survival. Seeds store different kinds of reserves, depending on what the plant needs. Most seeds store starches, which are chains of glucose molecules that can be broken down quickly to provide energy. Some seeds store oils and fats, which contain more energy per unit of weight than starches, but take longer to break down. Seeds from plants that grow in cold climates often have more oils, perhaps because the oils provide more sustained energy for growth in short growing seasons. Seeds from plants that grow in warm climates often have more starches, perhaps because rapid growth is possible and energy needs are less sustained. Seeds from some plants store proteins, which can be used both as energy and as building blocks for new plant tissue. Each seed has a different mixture, optimized through evolution for the conditions that seed will face. The size of seeds varies enormously across the plant kingdom. The smallest seeds are produced by orchids, and they are so tiny that they are nearly invisible to the naked eye. An orchid seed is often less than a millimeter across, lighter than a grain of dust. These tiny seeds contain almost no endosperm. The orchid plant provides no food for its seedling. Instead, the seedling must immediately form a symbiotic relationship with a fungus that will help it absorb nutrients from the soil. The tiny size of these seeds is actually an advantage in orchids because they can produce thousands of them, casting them across the world on the wind. Some of them will land in the right place, will encounter the right fungus, will begin to grow. Most will not, but the sheer number means that some will succeed. At the other extreme are seeds like the coco de mer, the seed of a palm tree from the Seychelles. This seed is one of the largest seeds in the world, weighing up to 25 kilograms, the size and shape of a large coconut. This seed contains an enormous amount of endosperm, enough to support the growth of the seedling for months. The seedling grows slowly, first underground, developing a massive root system and storing reserves before it pushes its shoot above the soil. When the shoot finally emerges, it is already large and well established. This strategy is very different from the orchid strategy, but it is equally valid. The large seed is heavy and cannot travel far. It falls beneath its parent tree or floats to a nearby shore. But when it germinates, it is so well stocked with reserves that it can grow even in poor soil or in shade. The seedling is protected by its own stored abundance. Between these extremes are seeds of every conceivable size. A sunflower seed is large enough to hold in your hand and contains enough endosperm to support a robust seedling. A grass seed is small and light, carrying minimal reserves. A bean seed is medium-sized, smooth and simple. A coconut is a seed that is adapted to float, its thick, fibrous coat protecting the endosperm during months at sea. A cherry seed is tiny, wrapped in soft flesh that an animal will eat and carry away. Each seed is optimized for its particular strategy and environment. Seeds also vary in how long they can remain dormant. Some seeds can only wait for a few weeks before their viability begins to decline. Other seeds can wait for years. Some seeds can wait for decades. The oldest documented viable seeds are lotus seeds that have been found in dried lake beds in China. Seeds that were at least 1,000 years old and which were successfully germinated. seed had been buried in anaerobic soil, sealed away from oxygen and from most of the processes of decay. In such conditions, the seed's metabolism slows to nearly nothing. The seed does not grow. The seed does not breathe significantly. The seed is simply preserved, waiting with infinite patience for the conditions that will allow it to grow. The viability of seeds is determined by the integrity of the embryo and the endosperm. As seeds age, molecules within them begin to break down. Water enters and leaves the seed even in storage, causing the delicate molecules inside to shift and change. Damage accumulates slowly. Eventually, the embryo can no longer germinate, no matter what conditions are provided. Some seeds maintain their viability much better than others. The difference seems to be related to the composition of the seed, to the thickness of the coat, to the presence of antioxidant compounds that slow decay. Seeds with high oil content often have poorer longevity than seeds with high starch content, perhaps because oils are more susceptible to oxidative damage. Seeds with thick, impermeable coats preserve better than seeds with thin, permeable ones. Humans have learned to store seeds for agriculture and for preservation. Seeds are kept in cool, dry conditions to slow the processes of aging and decay. Seeds are sometimes treated with chemicals that inhibit fungal growth or insect damage. Seeds are sometimes stored in oxygen-free environments to slow respiration and oxidation. And yet, despite all of our efforts, seeds stored in these ways eventually lose their viability. There is something in the nature of a seed that requires, eventually, that it grow or die. The seed cannot be preserved indefinitely. At some point, the accumulated damage becomes too great, and the seed's ability to germinate is lost. This loss is not dramatic. It is not a sudden death. It is a gradual fatting of the seed's potential, a slow decline in the percentage of seeds that will successfully germinate. One year, 95% of a batch of stored seeds might germinate. The next year, 90%. Then 80%. Then 60%. Until eventually, no seeds germinate at all.